I think I believe in the human touch.
Welcome to Tech Bites with Ash, where we discuss trends in digital technology that support true business outcomes. I'm Ashu Bhatia, a consultant, an author, and a practitioner of all practical insights on your technology investments. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Tech Bites with Ash. Today I have a great pleasure to talk with another industry veteran, Saruj Tipasena. He's the CTO at STelligence and is influential in promoting artificial intelligence all across Thailand as well as APAC. Before STelligence, he served in a leadership role with Microsoft and was actually their Chief Information Security Officer as well as the Generative AI Lead. Before that, he's spent a lot of years in countries like Taiwan, Japan, and US, really working towards mostly building solutions for clients in the telecom space. In 2024, Khun Saruj was appointed as the advisor to the House of Representatives Commission on the study and development of AI control and promotional strategies. So I'm really excited to talk to him about where all this agentic AI and deep-rooted solutions within artificial intelligence are going. Let's take a look. So Khun Saruj, thank you so much for joining me on my session with Tech Bites with Ash. I really appreciate your time, Kap. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kap. You're welcome, Kap.
Thank you. What I wanted to do, Khun Saruj, before I even start talking about, I know today's topic, we're going to really delve into AI, agentic AI, which is the lips of everyone, right? Every week, some news. I think this week it was China that was talking about DeepSeek. Last week it was Salesforce doing Agentforce. So I'm sure this topic is so near and dear to everyone. We're all very excited to jump in. But before we do that, I have, of course, introduced to my audience your background. So definitely very, very elaborate background. Also want to tell the audience that because of the terminology we use here in Thailand is I will call you Khun Saruj, which is a respectful way of saying Mr. or Mrs. So Khun Saruj, thank you so much again. As we jump into some of the things that we discussed, Khun Saruj, I wanted to step back and say that, all of us, we take a lot of journey, a lot of experiences in life, and that's what morphs us into what we do currently, right? So if you don't mind telling the audience a little bit about how your different roles have been very formulation into what you're doing today. Just talk us a little bit about your journey. I know you and I met maybe, 2 years ago on some Gen AI conference. And since then, it's been such a wild ride. But the audience would, benefit a lot to just know how does your career morph into some leadership role that you're taking on today?
Thank you, Khun Ashu as well. I will start calling you Khun just to reflect the Thai respect to you as well.
Thank you.
So I started my career. Okay, let's step back. I am the first generation of Thai people who experience the internet.
Wow.
Right. So back at the time, how old I am. And back at the time, there's no such thing as computer. It's just a big server connect to each other over the university network. And when I first graduated, I'm the first generation that experienced the internet back at the time. And I still remember that until today, that it was so fascinating when you get to see that there's a lot of information that can be sent across the world. Back at the time, I was into music from Europe, and I follow my band, European band from Thailand, and that's so awesome. Yeah. So I decided to dedicate my career to the internet. That's how I get to all this industry. Everyone knows how far away it was. So I think I've been spending some time in the industry much enough to get to see some technology that works and some technology that doesn't work. Yeah. And for those technology that doesn't work, at least for my own belief, it's not only about the tech, it's about the user adoption and the market reception as well. So exactly. It's likely to be the combination of the mix of market reception and how great the technology is. And sometimes the balance is on one way and sometimes the balance is on the other way around. Anyway, you asked me what my belief is. I think as a person in the industry, I believe that a good technology is not only about technology, but also market reception.
Exactly. No, I think I'm sure as your role as a CTO, as STelligence, and your previous roles, CTO at Microsoft, CISO at Microsoft, as well as I thought I saw your history that you've spent a lot of time in Taiwan and other countries. I'm sure the market dynamics are a little different, but I think the bottom line, as you said, is same, that it's not only about the product, it's also about how the market perceives and receives it, right? So I'm sure your day job is all about that. And before we even get again into AI, any influence that you working or living in other countries has helped in your current role?
Oh yes, very much. I think I learned a lot in my regional role previously. And if I need to pick just one topic, it would be on culture, ครับคุณอาชุ I think it's by the way, it's funny that we talk about this today in the age of AI. But
Right.
I think I believe in the human touch and the human values. So I'm from Thailand. In order to talk to someone from the Philippines or from Vietnam or from Japan, it takes a different prompts for me in order to
Exactly.
listen aggressively, understand, have empathy, communicate, and connect
Yeah.
with the people from different culture. I think that's a uniqueness of Asia because we are so diverse. I don't know how many languages that we have in the region, but as a person who live in this part of the world, you would appreciate how diverse we are.
Okay.
So I think culture plays super important roles when engaging with people doing business in Asia.
Exactly. No, that's a great point because, as you said, doing business in Japan versus Philippines or Taiwan is so different. And as you mentioned, because it's human reception of the products and how they perceive a system and how they adopt it, everywhere it's different. The culture is definitely the culture immersion piece is so important because in this day and age of an AI, especially, the human cognition is even more important. It seems like that's the only thing that we bring to the table in some ways because the computers are crunching more and more within AI anyway.
Exactly.
So talking of AI now, let's get, because I know that that's something you do in your day job right now. AI is such a broad umbrella topic as well, right? Like a lot of people, I mean, you don't wake up one morning these days where you don't open a magazine or a business newspaper or even the TV these days that someone is not talking about AI. It's so broad, it's so relevant. So, how do you define from your vantage point what artificial intelligence is? Where have we come up till and where are we going with this thing?
Okay, I think I'm gonna give Kun Saruj version because I think there are plenty of version in the world right now. I think the ability for the computer or the machine that can respond to us not in the predefined way, I would consider that as AI already. And yes, basically you can put an AI in front of pretty much everything now, right? AI assisted software, AI assisted SaaS, AI assisted application, etc. But there's a different level of intelligence, so-called intelligence. We're not going to go philosophical here, but at least it's not something that you really have to pre-program it. I would consider it as intelligence. How intelligent is has to be, well, that's very debatable. That's very debatable.
Yes. And I think the whole industry is talking about that, this whole version of intelligence, right? Or whatever it's called, AGI version of like general intelligence. Everyone says, oh, it's hyped up. Oh, maybe it'll be quick. Computers will be able to think like human brains. There was a quote by Sam Altman the other day said that we're, I think, 1,000 days away. He wanted to make it days. He didn't want to say 3 or 4 years. So
and then a few weeks after that, we got DeepSeek now.
That is a different, like it's a whole hour of sessions to say, hey, what happened there in terms of the modeling, the data, all that kind of stuff. But I think the key is, as you said, you raised a very good point. You said, if the system can see something without predefining it and sees the pattern and gives you that, insight, that's called intelligence because that's how human beings run, right? Since the day we were born, we are perceiving things, we absorb, we learn, and we act sometimes on it and mostly remember. Sometimes we forget, a lot of humans forget, but then that cycle in our human brains and neurons keeps building. That's who we are after all these years, right? And we keep growing in that sense. So that's what systems are beginning to do. So this whole idea of predefined, logic not being there, but yet finding the patterns or something that is of insight is C. And I think you and I were talking about it, that these days there's so many use cases in AI, right? So in any company we walk into, there's a whole value chain. There could be so many use cases on the front end, on the middle layer, or on the back end that this technology can be really used for. But in my experiences yet, I think a lot of companies are definitely doing a lot of pilots, a lot of experiments, getting ready. Some pieces you are able to scale and it's coming to more faster. But knowledge management, right, for mostly employees to say, hey, different countries, different languages, but knowledge management, because we have so much knowledge in enterprises that this technology is definitely being used, right? People are saying that I'll come to the riskier front end use cases later, but the back end for my employee productivity, I can start and I can build that center of excellence. We're seeing a lot of that. Is that your experience as well, that knowledge management is the core of where this is used quite a bit these days?
Actually, yes, and actually, I like to add one more point that I'm seeing, at least in my part of the world, in this region. I think most company right now realize that the competitive advantage that they can have is from the so-called intellectual properties or the knowledge that they possess, right?
Yes.
If the company is a long-established company, it's so crucial for the company to have their own knowledge to survive in the competitive environment, right?
Yeah.
And the third element is the changing in the workforce. I'm sure Kunashu, you know better than me that we're living in an era that everything changes so fast. And I'll take workforce for example. We are at the time that the people who started certain industry are about to retire. For example, in Thailand, the first generation of engineers who started the oil and gas industry is about to retire this year.
Wow.
So think about the knowledge that will be gone with those people.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a heavy industry like oil and gas or manufacturing, things doesn't change much back the time that you set up the factory or the plant, right?
Yeah.
So I think this has become a very big agenda for all the management. How do I retain the decades or multiple decades long knowledge that help my business survive and thrive in the market? Because we are losing people and then less people coming in from the workforce as well. So all of this makes knowledge management usually crucial than most people anticipated.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because not only capturing the knowledge that right now, but the past knowledge, and then the workforce retiring or walking away. And oil and gas is very near and dear to me. I've done a lot of financial services, but also oil and gas in my current company with Dexian. That's one of our biggest industry verticals that we do. And one of the things that comes up is if we have plants or people are trying digital twins and plants, yes, the standard operating procedures are all different in so many languages. You mentioned Japan, Vietnam, or Philippines, or European languages, as well as US. If the languages are different, but the machines and the plants are somewhat similar, how do you leverage this technology to create the right layer of semantics to kind of be able to train, to kind of do things? So going into the knowledge management piece, talk to us a little bit about where your experience has been using AI or agentic AI or things like RAG or GraphRAG, like anything that you can talk to us about where this is truly just really used for knowledge management.
Right. So I started my journey in knowledge management, I think about a year ago, when I just left my previous role from Microsoft and joined this startup company focusing on the generative AI. And I kind of like explore, what are the cool area that my team should be working on. And I got some inspiration. First, I think I saw the work of AlphaFold from Google, where they use generative AI to generate multiple patterns of the proteins. And by the way, that work has received a Nobel Prize. I assume we all were aware of that.
Yeah,
that's the first time that I realized that, hey, in the era of generative AI, everyone talking about chatbot.
Yeah.
But I think the real value of generative AI is you can have a multiple AI agent, right? I need to say the term these days.
Yes,
you can have many AI agents working for you. And that's when I realized that instead of putting the agent in front of the workflow or the application, like a chatbot, I can build an agent to help me manage my knowledge. And that's where I get into the knowledge management. Later on, I kind of like explore multiple technology, and I learn a lot about a database technology called graph technology. Right. And the graph technology has become very popular. And now the new terms that everyone calling is called GraphRAG. So everyone know RAG, which is a technical way to, vectorize the data and feed it to the large language model to consume.
Right.
And when you blend graph technology with GraphRAG, bingo, you have a very good solution to capture the knowledge in your organization. And people always ask me, Kun Saruj, this is not new. Graph technology has been there for more than a decade. Yeah. I think one thing that people kind of forget about the graph technology is, yes, it's not new, but LLM or agentic workflow, agentic AI is new.
Right.
And once you combine this, as I said earlier, you can have AI agent process the knowledge in your organization and put it in the GraphRAG technology. And there you go. You can have a way to capture human knowledge in a way that the large language model can easily consume. I think that's really what get me into 12 months ago.
Wow, excellent. No, so if we unpack this a little further, right? In today's day and age, almost every company that we walk into has some knowledge management system, right? SharePoint, emails, or other things, right? Now, is there a challenge in the current systems that this thing is better at in terms of, the GraphRAG, in terms of saying, hey, what does this technology really do better than what exists today?
Okay, let me explain in a simpler way. Kun Ashu, I'm gonna tell you a story, and let's walk with me, yeah.
Okay, sure.
So
everyone loves stories. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let's assume that you and I are colleagues in the same organization, and every year we're gonna go to Japan, to Tokyo for a conference. After the conference, we're gonna hit a sushi restaurant every single year. Boom, boom, boom. And then we got, so many selfie pictures together in a sushi restaurant that we like.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the last time that we went there together was last year. And this year, next month, you're about to take your family to visit Tokyo.
Yep.
And you want to take your family to your favorite sushi restaurant in Tokyo. You don't remember the name, unfortunately. Because the sushi restaurant in Tokyo, the cool one is going to be the hidden one with the sushi
hidden ones with the curtain with the names that are only in Japanese.
Right. The only thing that you remember is, oh my God, that place is so awesome. I can't remember anything. The only thing you remember is, I was there with Kun Saruj. How would you search for that information?
In today's world, I would go back and start looking at my emails or start looking at my text and say, hey, we talked, or sushi, search keywords and things like that. So I would go back to the systems that exist. Yeah. Correct.
And there's another way that you can do is you can search for the pictures that you have with me.
Yes.
Every time we went to a conference. And then that picture, you can search for the location of where the picture was taken. And then you can go to a Google map and check it out. Is there any sushi restaurant nearby that area that you took pictures? And you keep scrolling, and then you can easily find the location, right? That's how you can derive to the place that you want to go. I pick up this storyline just to explain to you that human brain does not process things in a table format.
Yeah.
Our brain does not process information in RDBMS.
Exactly.
Our brain process information from a relationship perspective. You and I were colleagues. We went to Japan together. Oh my God, I remember the sushi place. That's so nice. We have some selfies together. And that's how we navigate through this information.
Right.
So that's I think that's the gist of graph technology, I would say. And then when you switch back to your question, how that fit into an enterprise environment, think about this. You have so many things in email. You have so many things on SharePoint. You have so many things on knowledge management. You have internal web board. You have internal forum. You have a technical document from the outside. You have specification. You have policy. You have so many things, and it's never be connected. It's a plain silo of data set. I'll give you an example. If you're an engineer working in oil and gas plants, and you will receive a task from your ERP system that say, this thing is broken, go fix it, right? That's how the journey started.
Yeah.
Then you need to look up the engineering document. You need to look up the specification. You need to look up so many data sets to locate the problematic equipment.
Right.
And then you need to look for the SOP, the standard work, the work standard, the work orders, the specification, how to fix that particular equipment.
Exactly.
Guess what happened? Most of the time, that equipment was installed by the previous engineer who already retired.
Right.
And there are tips and tricks hidden in somewhere in documentation, email conversation, etc., that you're gonna need to look back to the archive and scroll down one by one until you found out that, oh man, this equipment was installed in Thailand, which has higher humidity than Europe.
Yes.
Therefore, the equipment function slightly different.
Yes.
And this guy already documented the trick to fix that.
Wow.
So all of these process, usually you take what? 4, 5, 6 data silo just to get the answer. Right. And this is where the GraphRAG knowledge management comes in. Because at the gist of it, the GraphRAG knowledge management is all about connecting the data silo together, making the relationship, making a topic-based a search capability or an equipment-based search capability. I think that's a very crucial role of GraphRAG will play the role in the organization.
Absolutely. No, that's a great example. Saruj, thank you so much for making it real for our audience, because I think what you explain, I think what we do in our work is the whole nodes and edges, everything is entities and relationships, but you just showed that how does a human brain work? First, in the example where I was searching for that sushi restaurant. Second, in the example of someone trying to fix or do some maintenance on a machine in a plant. Everything, if it's stored, it sounds like as an entity, and then you're building the relationships. So even if it's in, like, let's say there's a guy from supply chain management versus an operations person versus maybe someone from the financial department to say which orders to order, which parts to order. All of that is in silos, and we walk into companies, they're always sometimes in different systems, and they're at the best not even integrated, or even if they're integrated, there's no talking or mating the semantics on the higher layer. It sounds like this technology can bring it all together by reducing that silos, if you will, right?
Correct.
Another thing, any example, like one of the things where frankly I was working on was mostly financial services, and I've worked with so many of them that when you walk into some kind of a financial institution, they're selling different products, right? So savings account, loan, insurance, wealth management these days, same thing, exactly the same thing, that a lot of data in silos. People are selling different products, sometimes in a different POS, different in a bank, branch, or sometimes in a retail outlet store. So lots of data, but how do you break these silos to know Saruj as a person with 360 degree around him, to know what is he really interested in, what has he bought, what is his life situation, and bringing it all together. So I think this technology has a ton of potential by, as you said, not adhering to the data silos or thinking like tables and rows, but by thinking of that entity that is most important that you're trying to kind of build solutions around, right? Is that a fair way to kind of put it together?
Yes, correct. And if I may add one more thing, Kunashu, since you mentioned Saruj as a customer 360, I think with the age of generative AI and with the age of GraphRAG or knowledge management, I'm start seeing a certain pattern in the market at the moment that we already go beyond customer 360. So think about this. Customer 360 is all about knowing Saruj and my interaction with you.
Yes.
So that you can figure out what else you want to sell to me, or you can sell it to me. Right? But customer 360, the concept never be about the customer of Saruj. And the game here is, if you want to be successful, you need to help your customer successful. And if you want to help your customer successful, you need to know more about how your customer make money, right? Or selling things or doing the business.
Right.
Correct. So I'll give you one example. Let's say you're working with a company, a manufacturing company. Let's stick with manufacturing. Let's say you work in a manufacturing company. Chances are your customer is the mid-tier or the distributor of whatever you produce on the factory. And that's it. Once you have customer 360 model, you only see that distributor, which by the way, they can be the distributor of your competitor as well.
Exactly.
Right. But I have a project. We're working with, I can't name, but we work on a pilot project or prototype project where we want to capture the external data, like public information,
Mm.
that directly influence the distributor of the product
Wow.
so that the factory can sell better to the distributor. I'll give one example. If you producing beer, let's say if hypothetical situation, if you're producing beer in Thailand, you usually likely you sell the beer to the distributor in different provinces, right?
Right.
And if you run a customer 360, you only see pattern from the data, and you only see that, oh, I have new flavor of the beer and I want to upsell, correct?
Right.
What we're trying to do is we want to use GraphRAG technology to capture the ongoing news events that happening in Chiang Mai,
Nice.
Phuket. And I can tell you, Kunashu, next month, there's going to be a concert in Chiang Mai. There's going to be art festival in Bangkok. There's going to be a water sport event in Phuket. Why don't you go upsell your beer to the distributor next month?
Nice.
That's kind of like a bit of paradigm shift, I would say. That
Sure.
is not the customer 360 alone, but it's the customer of the customer that we also need to focus on.
Very nice.
And all of this possible because of the generative AI and the GraphRAG technology.
Exactly. That's great, because I think that's the reason, at least in the US, why a company like IBM bought weather.com and, events data, as you mentioned, right? All of this is important. And this is great because rather than customer 360, you're almost talking customer 720 to say that think of where the customer is eventually doing business and go to that layer, because it doesn't stop there. End of the day, if you make your consumer successful, then everything takes care of itself. And then the experience, because I think, as you said, it's the power of this technology that can really help bring data from different places, break those silos, and then still create the workflow for what they need to be doing. Right.
Correct.
While we're talking about this, a simple way to explain, and since you mentioned the word agent, right? Agentic AI, we've all seen the movie Matrix a couple of times. We know what agents are, but end of the day, if you break out what the black box of an agentic AI is, it's kind of 4 or 5 things, right? The first is a user interface. So interpret language. Like you said, suppose I'm sitting as a travel company, and I'll break the industry a little bit. I want to book a flight, let's say to Malaysia, right? So if I'm going to do that, then I break that user interface. It interprets what I'm saying. The second piece is planning and reasoning, right? It's the thing is, book a flight to Malaysia. That means I have to research, I have to get on internet, I have to see prices, I need the date. Then eventually, if I have the research, then I do the transaction and then send back the itinerary or whatever. So access to tools becomes important, and then integration, and then learning from this workflow that makes it better, right? So any example from your background where you kind of put an agentic AI doing much better with learning what they've done for some use cases that you mentioned, where you break down the whole UI, the reasoning and the learning part, just like a human brain, right? We do any work can be broken into 3 or 4 things, but our agentic AI really learning things and using this technology to make it better.
All right. First thing first, I need to make this statement. I do believe in the power of agentic AI, first of all. But I think when applying agentic AI, there has to be not some, but actually a lot of cautious.
Yes.
A lot of cautious. The workflow needs to be very clear. There has to be a guardrail or ethical, all the ethical stuff will need to be there.
Totally. Yes.
Right. And the other thing, and this is what I have seen in the past 12 months, is the agent will need to be grounded. Because think about this, the concept of agentic AI is basically you telling AI that, hey, go do things for me on behalf of me.
You're right.
Once you start saying that, it means that you need to be able to trust the agent.
Exactly.
It's like you hiring your own executive assistant.
Exactly.
You will need to trust the person.
Yes.
In order for the person to do something on behalf of you, right?
Exactly.
And that's where, grounding becomes super crucial in agentic AI. Have a grounded truth. I know we are talking about GraphRAG today, and GraphRAG is one of the methods that can help grounding the agents with the grounded truth from the GraphRAG. So that's very important. Anyway, to your question, what was my experience with agentic AI? I would call out one of my proud projects that we have done last year, which is around Thai legal paper.
Oh, wow.
So we spent a year developing an AI agent to read Thai laws and then extract certain character of the law to put that into a knowledge graph using GraphRAG technologies. And now we're hosting that a database serving, all the legal client of us. And we can't do this without partnering with, the law firm or the law university in Thailand.
Yeah. Wow.
But in essence, we can teach an AI agent to read Thai laws and extract certain structure from the law. It's not perfect. There has to be human to teach or human to check the outcome, but it can be done. For example, I'm going to go techie now, Kunashu.
Please.
In the Thai law, there are 4 to 5 ways to make an announcement of the Thai laws and put things in effective. For example, if I make an announcement that say, hey, you should do this or you should not do that.
Yeah.
I have a choice to make that effective today on the day of announcement.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow, one day after the announcement, or conditional announcement that if this happens, this will be in effect.
Okay. Yeah.
All of this is written in the legal language.
Yeah.
And I can successfully train the agentic agent to understand these languages so that you can have AI agent keep reading new announcement and determine when is the effective date.
Wow.
That's very powerful with some of the use cases.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal thing to say that, because it's not only doing text and parsing things, but it's beginning to parse intent and application and extrapolation, if you will, right? To
Correct.
say, which is how we think as human beings. But I think the point that you raised, the grounding and the trust is so important, because if I'm telling an agent to do something, then I'm pretty much putting myself out there as well, my credibility, right, as a person. So I think I was talking to someone who said, instead of thinking of a virtual assistant or an intern kind of analogy, think of it as a colleague in the office. Your agent is your colleague that you talk to once in a while, but you trust because and I always tell people there's 2 things to trust, right? There's execution, but before that comes intent. That's even more important, because if that, so both those things have to come together, and that's whole area of responsible AI. I know we'll run out of time, because that's another hour of discussion. Please.
On top of the trust part with your colleagues, another character that you would want from your colleague is when something goes wrong or when something you're not sure, you would expect the colleague to come back to you and discuss.
Exactly.
And that's another element that we're going to need from the agentic AI.
Exactly. That I didn't understand something, or I have some confusion, or there's some gray area, especially in a legal research where you're doing things, because everything is open for interpretation. Correct. Even the best humans cannot sometimes apply it. And then you look for similar cases, because then it is never an exact case. So an agentic AI working in that tough a field has to come back to you and seek more advice and kind of sync up again, right?
Correct.
So, but again, I think this whole area, we could spend an hour plus doing this. But I just wanted to really, again, I just wanted to wrap up a few things around the specific elements of knowledge management and where all this is used in terms of GraphRAG. How does a company get started with this, right? I know people, as I mentioned, a lot of our clients are experimenting with so many technologies. Some have invested, others are working with, the Googles, Microsoft, or the Metas of the world. People are doing foundational models or going to outside areas. But where do people generally get started with especially this knowledge management use cases that you mentioned that are so applicable to that?
Okay, I'm going to be blunt here. My apologies, but I think first thing first, if you recall our conversation, the benefit of knowledge management is to consolidate data silo.
Exactly.
So I think the very first thing that the organization need to have is the tone from the top, from the executive.
Yes.
Because you can have so many great technology that capture so many things, but without the tone from the top that this is need to happen, you can't connect different data silo together. That's like super difficult.
Exactly.
So the tone from the top will be extremely important. The second element would be the domain expert or the user. If you want to build a knowledge management for the engineer, you need an engineer as a champion to work on the project. If you want to build a knowledge management on the legal paper, you need legal team to work with you. right?
Yeah.
You want to build a knowledge graph for a medical, for a hospital for medical care. You need doctors to work in the project with you. So I think that would be the second element. And the
Yep.
last one, I would call out the three elements. The last one would be the AI engineer who understand the domain knowledge or the domain requirement, and then
Yeah.
train the AI so that the AI will process the information for you.
Exactly.
I'll
Excellent.
give you
Excellent.
one specific example ครับคุณอาชุ I know we run out of time. In the legal space, there's a term called transparency, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you would want an agent to look for certain keywords that means transparency.
Right.
And turns out that public hearing represent transparency.
Right.
Open data also represent transparency.
Right.
So when you train the AI, if the AI keep looking for transparency, you're not going to find anything. But if the AI looking for public hearing and open data, the AI can flag that, hey, this is transparency. It should be on this node in the graph, in the knowledge management.
Wow.
Right?
Excellent.
To do so, you're going to need an AI engineer who understand the semantic nuances of all of this.
Exactly.
That would be the third element that I would call out.
Absolutely. No, I think the three things that you mentioned, executive support, subject matter domain expertise, that people know that whether it's medical or it's plant, oil and gas, or whether it's financial services or legal, that domain. And then the third is definitely good AI engineering to bring all of that. It sounds like if there's three circles, it's in the intersection of those three circles where you can really do the impact and kind of get this thing going. So now this is great. This is awesome. Again, Kun Saruj, I really want to thank you. I know that I wanted to keep this short and I want to be respectful of your time, but this is such an area we can go on and on. But just to wrap things up, I know it's late in the evening. Any book or mantra that you follow? I want to get back to Kun Saruj and not AI, but anything that you really follow and would want to recommend the audience to kind of look into when you're making decisions about such work?
I was thinking, should I pick up any book from the back? But
I wasn't going to say that you've got a lot of books.
No. Let's keep things simple. Let's keep things simple. I think this is the mantra that I always share to all my audiences in all the speak that I did. And it came from Andrew Ng. Everyone knows Andrew.
Yep.
I think the best analogy out there in the market when it comes to AI is with electricity. Andrew say he believes AI is a general purpose technology, just like electricity.
Right.
And it means a lot, and it's very deep if you think about it. On one hand, you don't want to overhype what electricity can do for you.
Right.
On the other hand, you don't want to play down the potential of what electricity can do for the rest of the world, for humanity, right? And then when it comes to safety, when it comes to engineering practices, when it comes to application development, last mile delivery, or making impact, I think seeing AI as electricity help us a lot, or at least help me a lot. When I start having a question mark and I start thinking that, hey, what if we think of AI just like we think of electricity? What would be the frame of thought that we would approach?
Nice.
I think that's very helpful. So I want to leave this for the audience that whenever in doubt, think about AI as electricity. I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point because I think no one says today that I use electricity. We're using electricity in everything we do, but it's how we use it and what we're using it for. And also, when you started this today's session, you mentioned something like internet. You used internet. No one even talks about we use internet. It just happened. So same thing that it's going to be a democratizing technology. What you do with it, I think is going to be some exciting times to come ahead. So no, that's a great thought. Lastly, Kun Saruj, I always like the audience to see if they can follow you. If they want to follow your work or kind of reach out to you, what is your contact information that is best for them?
You can follow me on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn profile, just /in/Saruj. That's my page, and always happy to connect with everyone.
Excellent. No, thank you so much, and I will share that in my description below. Again, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great discussion. I think we have to do another follow-up session and kind of do a little deep dive on more agentic AI in the times to come.
Thank you. Thank you, Kunashu. It's my honor. Thank you.